Chances are your favorite board game absolutely sucked when it was first started. I'm Mondo, I'm a board game developer, and I'm here to help you with your board game design. Last week I talked about prototyping, and the conversation was about what it takes to make a good prototype and how you start when you haven't done it before. And a conclusion that I came to was that a lot of designers make the mistake of putting a lot of time, effort, and money into making their first prototype look a certain way or be up to a certain visual standard of completeness or like market readiness before it gets deep into the development process. And I said that that was a bad idea because if you are playtesting your game with people who are giving you feedback constantly, then that game is going to need to be developing and changing throughout the process. And the more you have invested in that early prototype, the harder it's going to be to carry out those changes and to update things that you've already spent a lot of time and money, finalizing or formalizing. And since this is such a universal mistake that designers make, I was thinking of ways that I could kind of drive this point home. I decided to reach out to other designers that I'm friends with who have gone through this process multiple times. Because every game that you have played that has become a well-known, popular board game started out as a crappy prototype. And again, some of the reasons I mentioned was that we as designers are not professional artists. We're not professional 3D printers or graphic designers. So we do what we can to create a gaming experience that can be playtested and developed. So I reached out to these friends of mine who are successful designers who have had multiple games published, some of which have sold hundreds of thousands and even millions of copies. I also scoured the internet looking for pictures of popular board games in their earliest stages. And what I have in this video is a series of images that I'm going to show you of these popular board games as they looked when they were early prototypes. And as a game designer, I'm going to make a game out of it. So I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to put his picture up on the screen, and I want you to guess what game this prototype in the picture turned into. I'm going to start off with this one. You might be able to figure these out with cards with birds on them, but I'm going to give you a second. This is Wingspan. Wingspan, of course, is one of the most successful hobby board games of all time, and a lot of love and care went into this design. It's interesting to see this early hand-drawn card art from Elizabeth Hargrave because we can tell what's missing from these cards if you're familiar with the game Wingspan. This game, like all games, underwent a lot of development and started somewhere a lot more kind of basic than it ended up. And of course, we know Wingspan turned into this giant game. But when it started, it was these hand-drawn birds in pencil on note cards. Next is this picture. Can you guess what it is? This is Cascadia from Randy Flynn. This game won the Spiel des Jahres a few years ago and has inspired multiple spin-offs, one of which was just nominated for another Spiel, which is Cascadia Jr. And in this picture, we can see the beginnings of what the final art looked like, but it was still very basic and very much done at home by hand. In this one, Randy used some iconography that he probably didn't come up with himself, so it illustrates the point that you can find really great resources to create your prototype. Next, we have this one. This is Castle Panic. It's one of my favorite co-op games of all time, and you can see that the structure of the prototype in this picture is really reminiscent of the final product. It's just completely missing all art elements. Which illustrates a point I made last time, is that players can have a genuine, meaningful gaming experience and provide helpful feedback on a prototype that doesn't have any artwork on it at all. Next, we have another big one. This one's actually pretty difficult, so I'm going to show you another picture of the same game. Can you guess what it is? This is Pandemic, another fantastic co-op game, this one by Matt Leacock. The first picture was just literally lines drawn on a piece of paper to create a map. And it developed into this more complete map, but you can see that there's still missing a lot of elements on this later prototype that ended up in the final version of the game. Another illustration that games go through development, and they need to go through development and change and grow as you get feedback from your playtesters. Last one I'm going to show you is one of mine. I'm not going to make you guess this one because you may have never heard of it before, but this is a game that I designed called Big Sur. This game is releasing at Gen Con this week, and it's something I'm really excited about. But when I started, it was literally just a deck of playing cards. Once I determined the game loop and the theme, I started creating this prototype and adding homemade art to it, and it looked like this. After the development was finished and the game was signed, we got real artwork on it, and this is what it looks like now. I want to say thanks to my friends that provided me with these pictures, but hopefully this is a helpful illustration of this thing that we're talking about, where your prototype doesn't need to look super good and super finished when you start. It will change and go through different stages, but it's important just to get the game to the table as quickly as you can. Because by doing that, you're going to see the things that work and the things that don't, and the things that you need to lean into and the things you need to pull away from. All of these games that I just showed you have gone through that process, and the results have been awesome. We love these games that they've turned into. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and tell me in the comments how you did on my little quiz, and if you have any other questions or thoughts about prototyping.